Rishi. I read in the Financial Times yesterday about Rishi Sunak. Do you remember him? Do you remember when he was a kind of prominent figure in the UK and then he just seems to have disappeared, completely vanished from our minds? But yesterday he popped back up, and that's what I want to talk about today. So for continuity, today is the 9th of July and it's 9:09, look at that. I would feel that's quite lucky because my birthday's the 9th of January, and if I've ever on a very odd occasion found myself maybe in a casino or something, if I've had a go at roulette, I would always have a little chip on number 9. So the fact that it's 9 minutes past 9 on the 9th of July, that wasn't intentional. But what I'm going to say today, I'm just purely expressing my own opinion, nothing else, just my opinion. And you can either let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. But let's talk about Rishi Sunak. I'm going to do the timestamp thing again this morning because I've got 3 topics to cover. Rishi Sunak, and then I'm going to talk about what a difference a day makes, and then lastly a little bit about YouTube in terms of things that you can do behind the scenes that I think it's worth sharing with other creators or people that are just interested. But let's talk about Rishi Sunak first, right? I read in the Financial Times yesterday. I don't read the Financial Times. It was an article that popped up online. It was from the Financial Times, and I thought, well, that's quite interesting. And it's about Rishi's new job. Now, if you're wondering, yes, he is still an MP. He represents the area of Richmond. You might not have seen him. People in Richmond might not have seen him. I've no idea. Don't live in that area. If you live in Richmond, you can tell me. But he is still an MP. And he is still picking up his MP salary. However, he has just acquired a new job, and that is with the one and only Goldman Sachs. Who saw that coming? Who saw that coming? I think many people online speculated that following his announcement of the general election that day in the pouring rain, do you remember that? People questioned, like, why now? Why today? It felt very rushed. It felt like he could not wait to get out of that job because the Conservatives were failures, 14 years of failures. The public had turned on them. They were going to be decimated in the general election, humiliated, some might say. And he stood out there on that podium that day in the pouring rain and announced the general election. At that point, just my opinion, I felt this seems really suspect, really quite questionable the way he's gone about this. And from that, general election happened, and of course the Tories were decimated, and rightfully so if you ask me. 14 years of absolutely running this country into the ground. However, you may also ask yourself now if the replacement is any better, but let's not go into that conversation right now. Let's stick on Rishi. So he's gone to work for Goldman Sachs, super fancy job. Now, I couldn't quite tell from the Financial Times at the column whether he was relocating to America, but as I've understood it previously, he's been floating between here and California with his wife and their combined 640 million fortune. And I just think, you know, these people, I feel like they're placed in these jobs, right? People, you think you're voting for it. They're placed into those roles for a period of time to deliver whatever the leaders, the true leaders. Now, I'm only speculating and I'm only giving you my opinion. But, you know, when you see interviews with Keir Starmer where he's asked Davos or Parliament.
You have to choose now between Davos or Westminster.
Davos.
Why?
Because Westminster is too constrained.
And he picks Davos. You got to wonder if there's a higher power above them and put them in these positions. And so Rishi Sunak has gone to work for Goldman Sachs now. He's going to advise them on international affairs as the ex-Prime Minister of the UK. Seems a bit weird, that, to me. Let me give you his job title. He's going to be a senior advisor. Now, if I was the Prime Minister, ex-Prime Minister, and my new job was senior advisor, I would be thinking, that sounds like a bit of a step down, but you know that's not a step down, right? He's in there to tell them about all UK policy. And what I find suspicious and questionable out of that is, do you remember when he gave that really famous speech, went viral, about digital currency?
Today, I'm proud to say that under the UK's presidency, the group of the world's 7 most advanced economies, the G7, is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs.
And how that would be the next big step. And we've had all these campaigns about removing the pound, the notes, the coins from the UK and getting to this digital currency, which I would say is not a good place for this country to end up in, because once again we would be handing over more control to governmental bodies to be able to see exactly everything you earn, what you spend it on, and when they can shut it off or give you a little treat, a little reward for doing something good. That is the beginning of the end, as far as I see it. So Rishi's gone off to this job. Isn't that lovely of him? And still, in the meantime, picking up his MP's salary till he finishes at the end of July. So he's had a nice couple of months of getting that salary and doing hee-haw for it. This MP thing is just money for old rope for some of these folk, isn't it? Anyway, I read that this morning and I just chuckled because I thought, that's just another one of those rumours, conspiracies. 6 months later, becomes reality. And off he goes. And if you aren't totally clued up on this, Rishi Sunak actually worked at Goldman Sachs from 2001 to 2004 and then left, and he went to an activist trader company, and then from there obviously he progressed to being the Prime Minister of the UK. Yeah, it's funny that so many of these leaders come from banking industries and suddenly they're placed into these jobs, and no matter how much experience or lack of you may feel they have, they still manage to find themselves in these positions, don't they? So let me know down in the comments, are you surprised to hear that? Or is that pretty much how you saw it go? I wonder where Keir Starmer will end up next after he steps out. Will he go back to law, or will he end up in a more senior position, you know, like the Tony Blairs of the world? Anyway, alright. Now, what a difference a day makes. I just wanted to say, you know, yesterday I'd kind of tell you how it is, how I'm feeling. And yesterday was one of those days. Now today, the 9th of July, I've got Tim, that's his name, arrive at the house at 11 AM this morning, and we'll talk about these records and see if I'm selling this collection that I've held on to for my life. And at this point, hoping we can just agree the number. I'll feel fine about it. If we start getting into negotiation, that'll be me. I'm back to my sales days and I won't be afraid to walk away from a deal if it's not right. So let's see how it plays out. But in terms of feeling a bit better today, I wanted to share, I had another YouTube channel that I had done very little on. Like, I've never spoken publicly like this, you know, like I did here when I started the channel here on the 9th of January. Talking to the camera, laying my life out. I'd never done anything like that before. But I had another channel that just had, maybe I've been to a concert and I've recorded a few minutes worth of Metallica or something. It had like that on it. But I was really inspired by the momentum and progress that I had here, and actually it was like a light bulb going off in my head. It was like, if you focus on this and you try and you put a bit of effort in, you can create something. And I know that sounds daunting to so many people that are thinking about a channel, but I wanted to just say, people think it's like you fluke it or it's luck or whatever. It's a lot of things. It's effort, it's consistency, it's the content, I've spoken about this before, it's the wrapper, the thumbnail, the title, the SEO, which is like search optimization in terms of keywords and hashtags and all those things that you put in. They're all important. And I work on all of that, and I've learned a thing or two. And so I went back to that other channel that I had, and given that I've been a DJ and I've worked in music and I've wrote records, I've wrote dance music, I've put albums out, I've had 2 albums in my past many years ago, and I always enjoy that part of my creativity, but I just haven't had the time. And then I sold my DJ equipment. Well, I had an idea for another channel involving a bit of music, and so I've made 3 videos on that other channel, and last night I managed to hit the metrics. The 4,000 watch hours I had already gained from the 3 videos, but I was just working my way towards the 1,000 subscriber count, and last night I got it and achieved it, and I was monetized in seconds because I'd had the channel for a while. And so I've now got a second channel on YouTube that I can earn a little bit of extra revenue from, and it just really it put a really nice feeling in my stomach last night when it hit the points where I'd achieved what I needed it to. And I just thought, I've now given myself a second outlet that I can travel with and make a little bit of money, and I can talk about other things there, talk about music, past concerts that we've been to, and just bands and artists that I enjoy, so I can kind of cover that without talking about it here because it doesn't really fit. And again, I just wanted to say, you know, to the people that are thinking about starting a channel, I set out this year with a goal in my head of saying, get a channel to a level that you want, and if you can do a second channel, it would be exceeding those goals. It's July and I've made that happen, and I am immensely grateful to everybody that's helped support and get it to this point. New people that have came here, friends that have supported, old colleagues from past businesses that watch, that have discovered it probably through my mobile phone number and Google doing a little recommend to people, discovering my content that I put out. So if you are sitting right now and you've been watching this thinking, I want to get this channel started, seems hard, or you've started one and you're struggling, you're like, oh, this guy's got success, or this platform, this channel's had success, and why can I not? I can help you with that. I can help you, guide you through some of those topics. Why don't you? My email is in the description. Drop me a note, let's talk and see if I can guide you to growing your channel, or at least just share some ideas. Sometimes it's just a little bit of back and forth with somebody, because YouTube can be quite a lonely place when you're the content creator, because it's just you with the ideas and concepts and everything else. Sometimes it's just good to bounce those around. All right, so there's that. And then lastly, just a little bit of insights into YouTube. I often share videos about how much money I make, how many views I get, what the advertisers pay. I put all of that in videos and I share them here on the channel, so that again, if you're thinking about YouTube, you can see, well, how much does this guy make from his videos? But as a little side to all of that, look, you know, when you post things on YouTube and add a comment section, you're going to get people that come in and follow and support and just want to go along with the journey, and then you're going to get other people that don't. Now, that can be quite worrying to people, like, how am I going to deal with that? What if somebody says something negative? I go onto Reddit, for example. Within Reddit, there is a new tubers section, there is a small YouTubers, and there's a partnered YouTubers subreddits for lots of different advice at lots of different levels of your YouTube journey. When I go into the new tubers section there, I often read probably from young kids that are maybe starting gaming channels saying, oh, I've had my first negative comment, what do you do? Now, within YouTube, when you are a creator, you see a different window from what a viewer sees. You can see the content within your video, you can see all the comments. And when you go into the comments section, the community section, you can see the most recent. You can then change it to filter to see if you've responded and if that person's responded again, or if somebody's given you a donation or a tip, for example. You can see all of that info. It's really helpful. See, when you see a comment, you can actually click on the person's logo and it then shows you every comment that that person has made on your channel to date. You can read it all. You can kind of stitch it all together. And that's really helpful because you can then get a bit of a kind of tracking on what somebody's like on your page, on your content. And so when I read comments from people, I'll go in and have a look at their history and see, oh, we've interacted before, or, you know, because sometimes I read a comment and I respond, I move on, and then like 2 weeks later, that same person's responded, but in a completely different fashion. First comment might have been like, hey, loving this, and the second one is like, you're a dick, and why don't you do this? And I look at that and I think, well, that's fascinating, because in the first comment we were all supportive and something's changed. So, you know, again, when you read that and you get that context, it can let you know that perhaps that person was just having a bad day. Perhaps that person's not very happy in life, and so you see all of the comments. Now, there's a couple of ways to deal with that. I generally try and leave the comment sitting because I think fair enough, but it shows up that it's unanswered. And me being the kind of person that likes to clear things out, you know, I'm like a person that wants an empty email box. It never happens. But sometimes I try and respond. So if it's something I'm like, oh, fair enough, you have your opinion, I might just say thanks for the comment, and that shuts that off, and it doesn't delete it, it removes it from my awaiting your action list, if that makes sense. But within there's two other options on that person. You can block them, which is very definitive. That's you removing them, no interactions ever again. That's quite severe. I've never done that on my channel, never had to use it. And there's another option, the last option, and that's hide from channel. Now, what hide from channel does is it means that when that person sees your video and decides they want to comment, they can do that. However, only they see it. So it's kind of like shouting into the void at that point, where you go onto somebody's channel and maybe you're calling them names, or you're using maybe aggressive language, then you can choose the option to hide from channel. Now, no other viewer will see that comment. You won't see that comment, and only the user has the satisfaction that they've left you some ridiculous comment on your page. However, when they return the next time, they're going to start to see the trend, and that is that there's no upvotes, there's no downvotes, and there's no response. And they now just live in a world of posting nonsense on a page that nobody sees. So those are three really good options that are available to you, and generally you can navigate your way between the three of those to manage your channel, because it's your channel. You're on YouTube as a platform, but that page that you post to is your page, and you can run that page as you see fit. So if you're thinking about starting a channel and you're a bit worried, like, I don't know what these interactions are going to be like, don't worry about it. You can manage it to suit yourself, and so you can post, you can make your videos and not worry about some of the nonsense that goes on. So I thought I'd share that with you because it's quite helpful. If I've got time, I'll try and cut some of the screenshots into that, but if I haven't, you know, I'm just a little bit rushed because the record guy's coming. Right, so Rishi Sunak, what do you think? Let me know. And I'm so happy about the second channel. After yesterday, getting that news in the evening, it's put a big smile on my face, and I thought, all right, I've given myself a little bit of a lift today. And then lastly, if you're thinking of starting a channel, don't worry about interactions with people. You control your channel, and you run it as you see fit, and you make what you enjoy making. Thanks everyone. I'll let you know tomorrow what's happened with the records. Thanks for watching, see you later.